Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Unit Reviews. If you guys don't already know, this is the series where you guys send me your best Genshin Impact units and we rate them on a scale of 1 to 10 so we can determine who has the best units in Genshin Impact. If you guys would like to submit your own characters for review, all you have to do is join my Discord. The link is in the description below. And there will also just be a little step-by-step tutorial in the description as well on how you can submit your own unit. With all that being said, let's get into the video. Our first unit here today is going to be from Ryland, and they want me to review their Venti. Level 90 Venti, 1800 attack, 149 EM. Those stats are a little backwards. Usually you stack EM on Venti. Oh, okay. DPS Venti. That's it, what it is, right? That's 100% what it is. 4-piece Viridescent, so you still are going to get the Viridescent shred. That's nice. But usually you still want to stack EM on Venti. No constellations, and talents are 10, 10, 10. You triple crowned your Venti? I haven't seen that in a long time. Oh my goodness. Cool stuff, though. I like it. That means you're definitely going to be using DPS Venti then. So I'm imagining we're going to be seeing crit rate damage hat, anemo damage goblet, and then like attack sands probably. Maybe EM? Let's find out. Crit damage hat with some crit rate and then 3 other dead stats. Not the best hat I've seen, but it'll do the job for DPS Venti. Goblet? Ooh, for an onset anemo damage, it's decent. EM is obviously a good stat for Venti. Attack is good. No really good crit stats though, and if you're building a DPS Venti, stats like crit damage and crit rate are a lot more important than attack is, though attack is still a good stat, so it's a decent piece. You're going to have an attack goblet as well, like we suspected. 2 flat stats, a little unfortunate, but you did get some crit damage, crit rate. So overall, it's a decent piece. Feather. Ooh, that's a good feather. That's a really good off piece. Make sure to keep that off piece. Very solid piece there. And lastly, ooh, this one is also pretty good. A lot of EM, some crit rate, a lot of crit rate, no crit damage roll. So overall, though, it's a good piece. You have EM on almost every single piece, which is good for Venti. You want to stack a lot of EM on him, obviously, because that's going to help you shred the elemental resistance so that your other characters can do more damage. But not only are your other characters going to do more damage because you're going to be shredding resistances, your Venti is also going to be doing really good damage because you have him on a crit build with a 71-179 ratio. 132 recharge is fine. I don't think Venti needs all that much recharge. Maybe he needs a little bit more, but 132 should be okay. And then 61 anemo damage bonus. Yeah, I mean, this is just a very solid Venti. It's a bit of an odd build, but overall, it's a good Venti. I mean, there's not too much to critique about this build. It's very unique, and I like unique because we don't really get to see many builds like this in the series. So I am going to give you a solid 8 out of 10. Let's move on to the next build. Next up here, we have Uradine, and they want me to review their Baiju. Level 90 Baiju. 1.6k attack, 294 EM, that's pretty good. Again, I don't know much about Baiju actually, because I haven't particularly built him myself, but he is one of those like really good Dendro Shielder units, so I imagine you want to stack him with a lot of HP and a lot of EM to get good reactions off, and then also to keep up his shield time. As for the weapon, you're going to have the Scaramouche weapon on him. Isn't this a DPS weapon? I'm pretty sure this is a DPS weapon that depends on normal attacks. So unless you're using DPS Baiju, interesting. Okay, this is interesting. You got 4-piece Wanderer Troop. I guess that'd mean you're using Baiju charged attacks then. Okay, constellations are 0 and talents are 10, 9, 8. DPS Baiju is a real thing apparently. Oh my gosh. Okay, interesting. DPS Baiju. Man, we're seeing a lot of unique DPSs today. Generally, I think you want to stack HP and EM, but I guess if you're going for a main DPS build, you probably want to start going for stats like crit rate, crit damage. As we're going to see here, this is a pretty decent piece, especially for Baiju. The stats are actually pretty perfect. Goblet. Ooh, that's a nice goblet, especially if it's on set too. These are perfect substats. That's a very nice piece. Sands is another perfect piece. My goodness. HP, crit damage, crit rate, all really good stats. Maybe the HP is a little unnecessary if you're going for like DPS Baiju, but it still helps because you're going to get increased shield time. Wow, another perfect piece. Oh my gosh. Not in terms of like stat distribution. A lot of these pieces could be improved, but in terms of just pure stats, these pieces are all really, really good. There isn't like a dead stat on a single one of these pieces. Then again, Baiju like uses every stat in the game except for defense. And then the feather is pretty decent. It's not a bad feather. Again, almost perfect feather. Again, flat HP is a little niche, but it's not actually a bad stat for him because he does scale with HP, even though HP percentage is just inherently better, but that's fine. Let's see your split. 59, 175. Crit rate might be a little low if you're going for DPS Baiju. You got some recharge, some danger damage bonus. Recharge is pretty low. I think Baiju's burst actually does cost a little bit, so that may help to get a little more recharge. Plus, you're not running like Favonius or anything, so you're not proccing anything. So it may help to get a little more recharge. 294 EM, though, is really good. 25k HP is low for Baiju, but because you're going a DPS build, it's fine. But this is definitely an interesting build. I would love to see how much this would do in like a Spiral Abyss setting, or just in general outside in the overworld, because I'm not sure how viable this would be. Like, would you use charge attacks or are you using normal attacks? I do not know. Interesting build, though. I do like it. We are going to give it a 8.5 out of 10. Let's move on to the next build. Next up, we have Little Arsonist, and they want me to review their Klee. I'm not going to lie. This is the first time I've seen anybody use Klee in like a decade and a half. So I'm interested to see what we're working with here. 1.6k attack, that's decent. Not too much defense, not too much HP. That means you have good substats. The 83 out of 90 is a little odd. I don't get why you want to just take her to 89 or 90, but sure. Weapon is Lost Prayer of the Sacred Winds. That's a really good choice for Klee. I think that's one of her best in slots. It's not the best one because I do think Widsith is a tiny bit better for Klee, but Lost Prayer is really good, and if you have it, why not use it for her? Artifacts are going to be the 2-piece Crimson Witch. I guess you're just working on the set. You want to get the 4-piece, you just need one more last piece. But if you're prioritizing substats, I do like that, because I always find that substats are more important than the set bonus is. Constellation 0 and talents are 10, 10, 10. I appreciate that. A lot of dedication going into the Klee here. Let's see some of these pieces. Crit rate, recharge, decent piece. Unfortunately, a big flat defense on the bottom there with 2 rolls into it, which is unfortunate. Flower, ooh, that's a really good flower. Really solid flower there. 4 rolls into crit plus EM. That's a good piece. Feather, 2 min rolls into crit rate and some low rolls into crit damage, but it's still a good piece because you at least got the 2 important stats plus EM. I don't know how important EM is on Klee in particular, but I do know that EM is just a general important stat on like every character because it is going to increase your effect damage, so having a little bit of extra EM is very nice. The Sands is a decent piece. Definitely not the best piece ever. 2 flat HP is kind of ugly, but the top 2 stats are really good. Goblet, whew, pyro damage goblet. Okay, good stuff. Unfortunately, you're rocking a lot of flat stats on these pieces. You're getting good crit ratios, but you do have a lot, and I mean a lot of dead stats. But luckily, you rolled majorly crit, so that is a good thing for your DPS output. Let's see the split. So you're going to be rocking 78, 185. Really good split. That is a very good split. 104 recharge, probably a little low for Klee. You got 90 pyro damage bonus, probably because I think it's Klee's Ascension stat. Overall, really good Klee. You got perfect talents. You are missing the 4-piece bonus, which is just going to bring it down a little bit. I assume you're probably working on it though. You just need one last piece to just finish off the bonus. That is all right. Your weapon is probably one of the best weapons Klee can get, so we are going to give you a very high 9 out of 10. Let's move on to the next build. Next up here, we have Justice, and they want me to review their catching. Now, keep in mind, this player is AR-52, so that's a little bit early game, so I imagine this build will just be more of a work in progress and not a completed Kaching, but still, they got a level 80 Kaching, so that is really nice. Always like to see level 80 Kaching. Not the best DPS in the game, but it'll do the job. Weapon is going to be the Kagutsurubi Ishin. I think that's like the free one you get from the Kazuha story quest, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think I've ever seen this weapon used on anybody before. I don't even know what this weapon does. It has an extra little bonus effect that deals AoE damage and increases attack. Sounds like a good weapon to me. I don't know how good it is in particular for catching, and it's only level 70, but it has an extra stat of attack percent, plus it gives more attack percent in its bonus effect, so it's a decent weapon. You got a 4-piece Thunder Soother, not a bad choice. There are some better options for her though, like 2-piece Thundering Fury and 2-piece Glad. And also with the new Dendro reactions, you can also run a 4-piece Thundering Fury, but 4-piece Thunder Soother isn't bad in particular team comps, especially ones where you're using a lot of Electro Charge, so that is pretty decent. Constellation is going to be 1, probably lost a little bit of a 50-50, and talents are 5, 6, 7, still working on the talents, but for right now, they're pretty decent. For AR-50, maybe want to see 7, 7, 7, but all around, it's some pretty good talents. Let's see some of these artifacts. What are we working with here? I can't imagine these are too good for AR-50, but I'm looking forward to it. Ooh, that's a really good piece, actually. AR-50, you don't usually see pieces with double crit lines, unless you get really lucky, and clearly, you did. Unfortunately, 2 flat sets at the top, but it's still a good piece. Onset Goblet? Okay, yeah, that makes sense. There's no way you have a really good onset goblet that early on. It took me until AR-57 to get a good onset goblet. But this one, you know what? It does the job. As long as you got the main stat that you need and you got some EM, hey, it's not a bad piece. Okay, it's pretty bad. You did get a lot of flight HP. The hat, actually not too bad. Again, a lot of dead stats, but you got the main stat you need in crit rate, and crit rate, crit damage, as we know, are the 2 most important stats. And you don't really need other stats on Keqing other really than crit rate, crit damage, maybe attack too. ER doesn't help her that much. EM is obviously good for Dendro comps, so if you do want to run EM on her, that is also another viable option. The flower, that's a really good flower. That's a really good early game flower. Yeah, very solid piece there. And then the feather, whew, that is a nasty feather. Not gonna lie, you got some really good early game pieces. There's not a single piece here other than the goblet. This is pretty bad. But other than that, all these pieces are really solid early game pieces. I like what I'm seeing here. Let's see the split. It's going to be 4197, a little smidge low on the crit rate. I'd preferably want to see 60-70 here. I think if you run something like the Black Sword, if you do want to buy the Battle Pass, that will help you out so much. Because the Black Sword will give you 25 to 30% extra crit rate. And then you have a 70-200 build. You'd be looking at a really, really good Keqing if you just had that Black Sword. That being said, I understand not everybody has money to buy the Battle Pass. That is alright. Overall though, it's still a very solid Keqing. You got a decent weapon. I wouldn't say it's the best ever though. You got some actually pretty good artifacts and a decent set for her and some okay talent. For where you're at in the game, we are going to give you a 7 out of 10. Let's move on to the next unit. Next up here, we have Rhea Liv, and they want me to check out their Lumine. Interesting. I don't think I've ever reviewed a Lumine before. I don't know why, but every Traveler I review is always Aether. I think he just generally has a cooler skin, but hey, Lumine. Let's see what we're working with here. Dendro Traveler. Okay, I like that. Weapon is the Mist Splitter Reforged. Okay. Artifacts are going to be 2-piece Glad, 2-piece Wanderer. Is this a main DPS Lumine? That's crazy. C6, obviously. And talents are going to be 10, 10, 10. Oh my gosh. Main DPS Lumine, but it can also do Dendro reactions. Your EM is actually 325. That's really good EM for Dendro Traveler. Plus you got the Mist Splitter. Oh my gosh. This is going to be disgustingly good. Let's see these pieces. That's a pretty good piece. Unfortunately, 2 dead stats, but it is a Dendro damage bonus goblet, so it's relatively new, probably. That's better than any Dendro goblet I have on my account anyways. The Sands, pretty damn good. You got some crit rate, you got some crit damage. ER, unfortunately, 2 flat defense is a little unfortunate. The Feather, ooh, that's a really nice feather. Ooh, that is almost 50 CV. That is a nice feather. Very good stuff there. The Flower, EM, attack, crit damage, crit rate. This is the perfect flower. For Dendro Lumine specifically, because of that EM stat, that just makes this the perfect piece for her. The hat, oh my gosh, this is a nice hat. 18 recharge, 14 crit damage. Keep in mind, recharge is really important for Dendro Traveler too. The more you get, the better, because honestly, when you're running DPS Lumine, you're not going to get that burst back up very fast. So you're going to want to see a lot of recharge on these pieces. And honestly, you have a decent amount of recharge. Probably not all that you need. You're probably going to need a little bit more, but honestly, it's not that terrible. A very, very balanced build here. Let's see the stats. So we're rocking 64, 181 crit damage. That's a really good split, especially when the Traveler doesn't ascend with any crit stats. You have 325 EM, which is very, very nice. A little additional bonus there is going to help you a lot with those elemental reactions. You got 130 recharge, which I think might be a little low, but if you're running her with other Dendro supports, then I think you'll be okay. Or if you just have a second Favonius user in your team, you'll probably also be fine. And then 46 Dendro damage bonus. I mean, this is a very good Lumine. Perfect talents, perfect weapon, a very good artifact set. Maybe you could use the 4-piece Deep-Wooded instead if you're going for reactions, but because you're going main DPS, it's actually not all that terrible. These are all really solid pieces, with maybe the exception of this piece has 2 very big dead stats. But other than that, I mean, this is nearly a very perfect DPS Lumine. We are going to give you a high 9.3 out of 10. Let's move on to the next build. And our last build of the day is going to come from Salsa, and they want me to review their Dluke. Level 87 out of 90 Dluke. You got that cool Dluke skin. I love this skin. The only 5-star skin in the entire game, but it's still pretty dope nonetheless. Weapon, you are going to be rocking the Red Horn Stone Thresher. I like that for him. Very solid weapon for Dluke. Going to give a lot of crit damage, probably way too much. Unfortunately, this substat is kind of dead for him. He doesn't really have a lot of defense, so you won't really make much use of this, but it's still alright. Artifacts are going to be the 2-piece Wander, 2-piece Glad, an interesting set. I imagine you're probably prioritizing main stats and substats rather than the set bonus, which is a good decision if you do have good stats on these pieces. Constellation is going to be 1, and talents are going to be 6, 9, 8. A little bit low on the normal attack. I would want to see that a little bit higher, because you are going to be using a lot of Dluke normal attacks when playing him, but overall, it's not all that bad. You still got a high E and a high burst, so that's pretty decent at least. Let's see some of these pieces. The off piece is going to be a very, very good feather. Yeah, this is very nice. You got 10 attack, 10 crit rate, 20 crit damage, very solid piece. Goblet, the Sands is going to have 23 crit damage, but unfortunately you do got 3 dead stats on there, which is a little sad. Other than that though, I guess you got 3 crit damage rolls, so that's at least pretty good. The Goblet, ooh, it's only plus 17. Bro, upgrade this to max. You could get another crit rate roll, and then this becomes like a 35, 40 CV piece, and then this becomes insane. I guarantee you get a crit roll too. Unfortunately, 2 defense is a little unfortunate, but other than that, this is a really, really solid piece. The hat, ooh, 14 recharge, 6 crit rate. Recharge isn't the most important stat on Dluke ever, but it's still a good stat. Unfortunately, 2 dead stats at the top there. The flower is going to be a 40 CV piece. Yeah, very good pieces. The only piece I would say is a little lacking is going to be this piece. I mean, 3 dead stats and crit damage isn't the greatest thing ever. Also, make sure to take this to plus 20. This could be a very good piece as well. Let's see the split here. 54, 277 is nuts. 277 is insane. But you do have like no crit rate. You're going to need a lot more crit rate. I genuinely recommend running crit rate hat. Yes, having 277 crit damage does look like a crazy number, but if you only hit that 50% of the time, it's not the greatest thing ever. You would like to preferably see this at like 60, 70, and maybe this would come down to like 250 or 240, but it's still a good crit damage ratio nonetheless. You just want to see that crit rate a little bit higher. 40% pyro damage bonus, and then you also got 1700 attack. All around, a good Dluke. Maybe a little more EM, but I guess it depends on what team comp you're using him in. If you're using him with like Vapo or Melt, EM matters a little less, but when using him with like Dendro reactions and Burgeon and all that, EM is going to matter a lot more, obviously. Also, seeing this at 90 would be nice. A lot of little critiques that you can make about this build, just trying to get talents a little higher, weapons a little higher, and perfecting a couple of these artifacts. But other than that, you're going in a very, very good direction, so we are going to give you a 8 out of 10. And with all that, that is going to be the end of our unit reviews for today. If you guys enjoyed this video and you want to see more like these in the future, please consider subscribing or leaving a like down below. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.